The NFL is buzzing with one of the wildest rumors of the season. Deion Sanders praising the Las Vegas Raiders organization for showing what he called unbelievable class in discussions surrounding a potential blockbuster offer for Shedeur Sanders. Whether the trade talk was formal, informal, or purely exploratory, the reaction across the league has been electric. At the center of the storm is an alleged offer that insiders described as irresistible, the kind of deal that has analysts, scouts, and fans wondering if the Raiders truly attempted to pry Shedeur away with a package the Browns would have a hard time ignoring. In the middle of all this noise stands Deion, openly showing respect to the Raiders' ownership group, specifically for how they reportedly handled the situation. And that praise is what lit the match that set off this entire NFL debate. The Raiders have been aggressively rebuilding since shifting to a new era, hunting for a franchise quarterback who can take the organization from rebuild mode to championship contention. And unlike some teams who move in silence, the Raiders have never been afraid to make bold moves, bold offers, and bold attempts to secure cornerstone players. That's exactly why this story exploded, not because the Raiders might be interested in Shedeur, but because it fits their identity. This is a franchise known for swinging big. The scary part for the rest of the AFC, they might actually be willing to give up whatever it takes. Deion's comments, though vague and respectful, suggested something deeper. He wasn't praising Las Vegas for chasing Shedeur. He was praising how they did it. According to reports, the offer wasn't flashy in a disrespectful way. It wasn't an attempt to bulldoze the Browns or create tension. Instead, Deion described the Raiders as operating with professionalism, courtesy, and a high level of transparency. And in a league where behind-the-scenes negotiations are often cutthroat, these words mattered. They carried weight. They sent fans scrambling for clues and insiders digging for details. But the Browns organization sits in a complicated position. Shedeur has become one of the most polarizing young quarterbacks in the league, beloved by fans, scrutinized by analysts, and evaluated through a microscope every time he steps onto the field. His potential is clear, his ceiling is high, and the franchise already invested heavily in developing him. So the idea of another team, especially a high-profile team like the Raiders, making a huge offer instantly created a tense narrative. Would Cleveland ever consider a deal? And if so, what kind of package could even tempt them? That's where this story becomes explosive. If the rumors are true and the Raiders truly prepared a franchise-shifting offer, it means the entire NFL landscape may be shifting too. Quarterback movement shapes eras, and any attempt to acquire Shedeur, even a respectful one, signals that he's no longer seen as just a promising rookie. He's seen as a future superstar worth emptying the vault for. The Raiders have always been an organization that thrives on boldness. From iconic draft decisions to major coaching hires to aggressive trade attempts, they've never been shy about pushing boundaries. That's why whispers about an irresistible offer for Shedeur feel perfectly aligned with the franchise's DNA. This isn't a team interested in slow, patient rebuilding. This is a team that wants a spark, a new identity, and many inside the league believe Shedeur could be exactly that. And while the Browns have not publicly acknowledged any discussions, the mere idea that the Raiders ownership group made such a strong impression on Deion Sanders has fans wondering what really went on behind closed doors. What makes this situation even more intense is how the NFL community is reacting. Analysts are taking sides, fans are arguing across social media, former players are chiming in, discussing whether a trade like this would make sense for either team. And through all of this noise, Deion's praise for the Raiders is being dissected frame by frame. When he said the organization showed unbelievable class, the football world instantly latched onto that phrasing, interpreting it as confirmation that the Raiders made the kind of respectful, calculated move that powerful franchises make when they're truly serious about landing someone. A move like this wouldn't just be about talent, it would be about symbolism. The Raiders haven't had a long-term franchise quarterback since the prime Derek Carr years, and even those seasons never fully delivered on championship expectations. Bringing in Shedeur would give the franchise a new face, a new leader, and a new identity to market in Las Vegas, one of the most competitive entertainment markets in the world. The upside would be massive, both on the field and off it. For the Browns, however, the situation is far more complicated. They're still navigating the long-term direction of their offense. They're balancing young potential with veteran structure, and they're dealing with constant scrutiny around coaching decisions, depth chart rotations, and quarterback development timelines. Shedeur represents hope for the franchise, a future they've been investing in heavily. So any trade offer, no matter how generous, would spark deep debate inside the organization. That's what makes this story so captivating. Fans want to know, did the Browns hesitate? Did they reject the offer immediately? Or did they at least consider the possibility before shutting it down? No team wants to admit they debated trading the future, and no team wants to look like they ignored an offer that could reshape their roster for years. The deeper truth behind all of this is simple. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a talented young quarterback, he's becoming one of the most valuable assets in the NFL. And when a team like the Raiders expresses interest, it shakes the league. The fact that Deion spoke so highly of how they handled the situation is the part nobody expected, and it's what pushed this story into full-on headline territory. The interesting twist in this entire saga is how the Raiders' potential pursuit of Shedeur reflects a changing philosophy across the league. More teams are realizing that waiting years to develop a quarterback often leads to wasted seasons, wasted contracts, and wasted fan support. And when a young quarterback shows traits of leadership, composure, and long-term upside, teams don't hesitate anymore. They move, they inquire, they offer. And in the case of the Raiders, they do it with a level of professionalism that caught Deion Sanders' attention. From a strategic standpoint, the Raiders' interest makes perfect sense. Their current roster is built around athletic playmakers, a strong fan base, and a coaching staff hungry for a foundation piece. Their offense needs a consistent identity, someone who can command the huddle, push the ball downfield, and bring a level of excitement that Las Vegas thrives on. Shedeur fits that mold perfectly, not just because of talent, but because of poise, because of maturity, because of the ability to carry the weight of spotlight pressure without folding. But what really intrigues league insiders is how gracefully the Raiders approached the situation. According to multiple reports, there was no aggressive pressure, no leaks, no drama, no disrespect toward the Browns organization. That's the part Deion praised the most. And it's also the part that suggests the Raiders weren't just taking a wild shot. They were making a calculated high-end attempt grounded in respect and long-term vision. Meanwhile, the Browns are operating under a different kind of pressure. Their quarterback room is one of the most scrutinized in the league. Every rep is analyzed, every snap is debated, every coaching decision becomes a talking point. And the idea that other teams might already be circling Shedeur like a shark circling open water adds a layer of stress to the organization. When another franchise expresses interest in a young quarterback, it usually means they see something the world hasn't fully appreciated yet. This is why fans are treating this story like a potential turning point. If the Browns rejected the offer immediately, it signals that Shedeur is absolutely their long-term plan. If they even considered it, it says something about the internal tension around how quickly they want to push him forward. Another layer to this narrative is the business side of football. Young star quarterbacks bring revenue, ticket sales, jersey sales, national attention, and a cultural spark. Losing one can have long-term consequences. Gaining one can reshape an entire city. The Raiders understand this, especially being located in Las Vegas, a city built on showmanship, risk, and transformation. This is why Deion's comments reverberated through the NFL. When a legendary figure praises the professionalism of another team's offer, it indicates that this wasn't a rumor pulled from thin air. It was something that carried real weight. The conversation around this situation shifted dramatically once fans began discussing what type of irresistible offer the Raiders could have actually made. In today's NFL landscape, blockbuster trades often involve combinations of first-round picks, star players, and future assets. But a trade proposal for someone like Shedeur Sanders would require something entirely different, something massive, something bold, something unprecedented. Insiders began imagining packages involving multiple first-round picks, high-value starters, and possibly even swap options for future drafts. And when people heard Deion Sanders praising the class and respect of the Raiders organization, these hypothetical packages felt far more realistic. This wasn't just a random rumor. It felt like a legitimate attempt by a franchise ready to rebuild around a young quarterback with star potential. The Raiders see an opportunity to reshape their offense, rebrand their franchise, and give Las Vegas the kind of quarterback who can carry a city with charisma, energy, and excitement. Shedeur is the kind of player who brings attention wherever he goes. He's a storyline generator, a ratings magnet, and in a city filled with lights, cameras, celebrities, and constant buzz, he fits perfectly into the entertainment meets sports blueprint that the Raiders rely on. For the Browns, however, the stakes are entirely different. A young quarterback represents stability, long-term identity, and franchise direction. Trading someone with long-term potential is always risky, especially when the fan base is still hungry for consistent success. So even if the Raiders presented a massive offer, the Browns' hesitation would be understandable. This wasn't something they could decide lightly. Meanwhile, the NFL continues watching closely because this situation reveals something about league trends. The value of a young quarterback has skyrocketed. Teams no longer wait for quarterbacks to prove themselves through multiple seasons. If a player shows flashes of poise, intelligence, and command, teams begin planning aggressively around them. And in Shedeur's case, those flashes came early. What made Deion's praise even more impactful was that it showed the Raiders weren't being reckless or disrespectful. He appreciated how they operated behind closed doors. He appreciated their transparency. That signals a future possibility. Just because the Browns rejected the offer now doesn't mean the conversation can't resurface later. Smart franchises leave the door open. Respect creates long-term leverage. The NFL is full of blockbuster trades that seemed impossible until they happened. Quarterbacks who were once considered immovable suddenly became available. Teams desperate for a spark often make moves nobody expected. And when a team like the Raiders shows this level of interest, it usually signifies long-term intent, not a one-time inquiry. With Deion Sanders praising their approach, the pressure is now shifting toward Cleveland to make sure they maximize their young quarterback's development before another franchise tries again. The deeper impact of this story extends far beyond the Raiders and the Browns. It speaks to a larger truth about how quickly narratives shift in today's NFL. Young quarterbacks are under more pressure than ever. Every performance is monitored. Every mistake is debated. Every success is scrutinized. And when a franchise believes in a young quarterback's potential, rival teams immediately attempt to pry him away, sometimes years before he reaches his ceiling. The Raiders are not the first team to make an aggressive move toward a young quarterback, and they won't be the last. But their reported approach, respectful, intentional, and built on quiet professionalism, is rare in an era where teams often leak information to create leverage or pressure. That's why Deion's praise felt unusual. It suggested the Raiders were operating with long-term vision, not short-term desperation. This entire saga also shows how quickly Shedeur Sanders has become a valuable commodity in the NFL. Not because of hype alone, but because of the traits he's displayed: calmness, field awareness, pocket presence, and charisma. These are traits that can't be taught easily, and franchise owners recognize the power of quarterbacks who can grow into cultural icons. But here's where the Browns must tread carefully. When another organization openly demonstrates interest in your young quarterback, and that interest is strong enough to impress his own father, it means you're officially in a competitive market. That's a wake-up call. It means the league sees what you have. It means you must develop him properly. It means mistakes around his progression will be magnified. For the Raiders, this situation could be a preview of future strategy. If they cannot land Shedeur now, they might pursue other young quarterbacks with similar traits. They might keep the lines of communication open. They might monitor Cleveland's coaching situation, roster changes, and internal politics. This kind of storyline doesn't end overnight. It evolves. And for the NFL as a whole, situations like this reflect something bigger. The value of quarterback potential is becoming more powerful than quarterback production. Teams are paying for ceilings, not floors. They want upside, not just stability. Shedeur represents upside. He represents youth. He represents long-term investment. And that's exactly why the Raiders' reported offer created such a stir. They weren't just chasing a quarterback. They were chasing the future. Deion's praise isn't just a compliment, it's a message. If the Raiders show this kind of class today, they could easily come back tomorrow, next season, or even years from now with something bigger. This story isn't ending, it's beginning. The final piece of this saga, the part that pushed the story into viral territory, is how the NFL reacted to Deion's comments. Whenever a legendary figure acknowledges an organization's professionalism in a situation involving a high-value player, it sends a ripple through the league. It signals that the team is strategic, careful, and credible. It also sends a message to other franchises. If the Raiders are willing to build a respectful relationship with Shedeur's camp, they might be positioning themselves for future negotiations. Fans immediately began asking one question: If the Browns ever hit turbulence in their quarterback room, would the Raiders be the first team to call? And if they are, would that hypothetical next offer be even bigger? That's the heart of the intrigue. The Browns are safe today, but the pressure is officially on. They must protect their relationship with Shedeur, support his development, manage the locker room correctly, and eliminate internal politics. Because if cracks begin to show, rival organizations will smell opportunity instantly. For the Raiders, this situation signals a franchise ready to rebuild intelligently. Their ownership group wants a star quarterback. Their coaching staff wants someone who can elevate the offense. Their fan base wants excitement. Their city wants a face of the franchise. All roads lead to the same type of quarterback, someone young, poised, and confident. Even if this specific scenario never evolves into a real trade, the message is clear. Shedeur is officially on the radar of teams far beyond Cleveland, and teams with the resources, branding, and ambition of the Raiders don't pursue lightly. They pursue strategically. Deion's praise wasn't an accident. It was an acknowledgement of professionalism, something that can create future conversations, future openings, and future opportunities if circumstances ever shift. In the end, this storyline reveals how valuable Shedeur has become and how aggressively teams are moving to secure their future at quarterback. It's a reminder that in today's NFL, nothing stays quiet for long. One respectful conversation, one massive offer, one influential comment can spark a league-wide debate. And this debate is far from over. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more NFL stories, quarterback breakdowns, and insider-level analysis.